the situation is getting bad, from bad to worse, and we are already in the worst stage you can think of.
Yeah, earlier on you talked about the fact that he did not offer alternatives.
Yes.
All right, because he talked about Afro-centered democracy. I remember the time he granted that interview a long time ago. He said, well, I don't know what to call it. We can call it anything. But it seems he has given it a name, Afro Democracy or Afro-centered democracy. And so he goes ahead to talk about how there must be efforts to look inward and outward to see what in the country, culture, tradition, practice, and living over the years can be learned from, adopted, and adapted for a changed system of government that will service the purpose of the people. Taking something from art, culture, possibly, adopting it, adapting it. How do you see that being reflected?
Exactly. That is where I was going. Good. We can adopt Afrocentric democracy. That Afrocentric democracy can be centered on the same values and norms we had ever before now.
Okay.
Those things we hold in esteem, those values, norms, and behaviors we hold in high esteem, and those vices and what have you that we deride. Let me tell you, an African leader, in Nigeria inclusive, when he is going into public office, swears by the Constitution, swears by the Quran or the Holy Bible, that I will do what I'm supposed to do. But what do we see? Before now, also, you see people, I can't remember exactly where I listened to some people discussing all these things, if not here also, that before, when a man gets words stupendously, suddenly, you see members of his community and the case man come to him and say, tell us what happened. Did you kill anybody? Where did you get this money? And if the person cannot give an accurate account of that, you see that the person is indirectly ostracized from the society. But now is a situation where somebody will go into government. Once he enters into government, because of the system already that has already been destroyed, he will use every means by hook or crook to get into that government. When he now gets into government, then pressure begins to come. Church people will be giving him invitation to be the chief launcher. Community people will also come with their demands and what have you. Then after all these things, when he comes out of government and he didn't fortify himself with armada of fraud in terms of financial capacity, they will be asking him, you are a fool. So if we can actually come back to in such a way that to strengthen our system of accountability in governance, as in that you are here to use the resources at the disposal for the good of the people, and you will account for every penny you spend, and you will rot in jail also, or the society will stone you when you come out. And if you do the wrong thing in office, Africans will be doing that.
If people can't do it in the current system, how can they do it because they're enabled by culture? Is the same people we're talking about.
That is the controversy of the whole thing. But if we uphold these values above everything, of course, like my saying stone you now, the Constitution also didn't say you have to stone anybody, because if you do that, it's jungle justice. Rather,
but they have to identify and agree that you're a fraud. We have a system where nobody actually agrees that anybody is a fraud, not to talk of stoning the person.
I think that is largely because we have no culture of accountability. I mean, in working climes, you don't even have the face to put yourself out there.
Yes,
most of them would rather sit back and finance as godfathers. But this is a place where there is no accountability culture. And so, I mean, even if you're allowed to stone, nobody is going to stone you. Just give them a few pennies.
Yes, sir.
I mean, that's a sad
grab as much as possible and use the same thing you grab to settle those
but look at the sad reality, comrade. They settle you once in 4 years, right? Just during the campaign seasons. So in the 4 years, the things that are usually supposed to be the right of Nigerians are given to them as privileges. You know, it sounds really funny where you see a politician coming to tell people that, oh well, school fees is going to be free and people are celebrating and jubilating. This is the freaking right of the people and not some privilege. But we are so used to bad governance. And personally, it takes us back to the conversation of when do we have people-oriented people run Nigeria? I mean, it's very simple. When do we have people-centered? When do we have Nigeria-believing people run Nigeria? People who really want to make it work and not people who are willing to just continue the cycle because, come on, the office cannot be empty.
You know, when we talked about culture, adopting some elements of culture, what actually came to my mind was, are we supposed to adopt a system where you swear by the gods? You know, because people say when you swear with the Quran, when you swear with the Bible, you don't take it seriously because it seems you won't suffer any consequence. And so when somebody is saying adopt something from the culture, that was what came to my mind.
Have you heard of it?
You know,
seriously,
we can start with something. I don't know.
Why that one will be difficult is that the same democracy also gives you right to have your own belief. So if you now say that everybody
you
must
swear by whatever you believe.
That's the thing now. If you say everybody should swear by African traditional religion, when the person is not an adherent of that religion, he will tell you that.
Comrade, you are an Igbo man. You have heard of Ndawi. They will tie it on the waist and swear nothing will happen.
A lot of course, Nigerians will always find a way to abuse everything.
Humans.
But the truth of the matter is that until we realize that we are deceiving ourselves, until we come up with that culture of everything ingrained in our psyche, that at every point in time we have to do the right thing because we are duty bound to do the right thing. Whether anybody's watching this
we go back to reconstruction of the mind.
Yes, right? That's it.
Okay. Looking at this thing in another angle, I remember when he started this conversation, he was actually lamenting about the coups that had been going on in Africa. Before he spoke, there was, I think, coup in Mali, Burkina Faso, Guinea, at the time, I think, Niger.
Yeah.
And after he spoke, Gabon. And the time he spoke, he said most of these coups are election-related. Perhaps people are not really satisfied with the outcome of election. So it makes me to wonder how grievance he has against democracies related to this election-related coups that are going on in different parts of Africa. But like we said, the time we discussed it extensively, and we suggested maybe option A4, where people can queue and people will see who is voting and how they are voting. I don't know if we have to go back to that conversation because apparently the system we have brought up in terms of voting, open secret ballot system, seems not to be working. But when people queue, everybody is seeing who is queuing and they can actually rightly defend in the event somebody comes out and announces a different result. So I don't know, something in the election we have to tinker with before we now talk about how people who are brought up by the system have questionable character and are not the real people brought up by the system.
There are so many systemic changes we need to bring on board in our electoral process before we can get it right. Pattern of voting is one of them. We can name numerous, and you find out that if you don't address all these things, you may handle one aspect of it, and the other aspect will overwhelm whatever gains you might have gotten from the one you addressed. If you talk about mode of voting, like the option A4 you talked about, we've seen option A4, which some party primaries adopted. And you see people count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 23. From 13 to 23.
Yeah.
And before we shout, hey, the person will continue counting. Before you know it, he will get 186 votes. In the actual number when people are not up to 100 in that line.
Yeah.
So that one can also create another chaos.
Electronic voting then?
So if that's why we advocated that if we actually can advance our technology, it's electronic voting is the way to go. Despite the fact that we also know that garbage in, garbage out. Sometimes people will find a way also to compromise even the system, the gadgets. But that one can be traceable if we fortify the system. But it's a lot of things to be done, not one single thing.
Well, the presidency has responded to Obasanjo. Bayo Ononuga was actually accusing Obasanjo, saying you were the one that took the recommendation of the Constituent Assembly at the time that we should revert back to American system of democracy. You know, before the military took over, the colonial masters handed us this parliamentary democracy, and it was cost effective, it was working for us with all the elements that are meritorious, so to speak. But you came with this expensive American system of democracy, and now you think that we have to rethink it. The blame should be squarely on you. That's what Ononuga is telling Obasanjo.
Yeah, I agree with Ononuga that Obasanjo shares in part of the blame. But we cannot continue to be dwelling on blame game. He has made his position at this point in time. What we just need to do is to take the conversation further. Let everybody be forward thinking and not attacking the person. Why did you say this and this? That one will not lead us anywhere, because it is very, very clear that if we continue this way, in fact, we are crashing. If not that, we have crashed already.
All right, we'll leave that conversation here. While democracy is not working for Africa by Obasanjo, he has started his own think tank. You can join in the conversation and seek out ways we can enhance the democracy, or something better than the current democracy, something we can use to enhance the current democracy. Whichever way, you can join the conversation. He has already brought out his own suggestion. We're taking a quick break. When we come back, we have Pekka saying that on the Sun, opposition is alleging plot to turn Nigeria into one-party state. We'll talk about it when we return.
99.1 FM.